we are now looking at an ilk of founders who are bootstrapping. And there are different ways of bootstrapping. Bulelani, I'm sure you would know this. Please do share methodologies of bootstrapping that protects businesses from founders dipping in for personal overheads. What are the systems that we can put in place through the various bootstrapping methodologies that protect businesses from their founders?
Well, Bafetu, revenue is vanity. You must always remember that, Profit is sanity because you think you're making some money. Cash flow is everything. The bottom line, when I'm coming to this gentleman looking for money, he doesn't want to see the top. It excites him a little bit. But what stimulates him to give me that money that I'm looking for is, are we managing our cash flow correctly? What is our payment ratios? What are the terms on invoicing? What are the terms on payment? And what are the terms on fulfillment of payments to suppliers? It's a very critical thing. In most cases, we negate those things and you find yourself in a very tight situation. But I think the one key thing, really, I think in everything I'll share now that I want to sort of throw out there as a precursor is that funding doesn't grow businesses. You must always remember that. Funding doesn't grow businesses because funding is a tool. One of the key things that you need to be fixated on as a founder is building a business that will attract the funding. Part of the opening is to also then realize that at different stages of your business's growth, you are able to raise capital or raise funding revenue. But I think at the end of the day, you need to then be able to position it to the people that you're going to for funding. Is it a DFI that you're speaking to? Is it a bank? Are you raising it from ESD funding? Are you raising it from a community? And those are some of the things that you then need to then make sure that you take into consideration. But one of the key things that you sort of then ended with when you were asking the questions is building systems. I am a deep believer in building systems because at the end of the day, most cases, what usually happens, and there's a very intelligent gentleman, Dr. Mark Gerber, who breaks it up, entrepreneurial mode, technical mode, and managerial mode. The big inspiration or motivation for us to go into business was not necessarily to be entrepreneurial, but was to solve a need, and you sort of then opened up to that. But a big part of that is that majority of us then end up getting stuck in the technical aspect of the business. So the inspiration that then got you in, or the fun part of business or entrepreneurship that got you in, now only accounts for 1% of what you will do when you are in that particular space and phase. But the one key thing then that negates you, prevents you from ending up being an employee who's now captured in your own business, whereas you could have just stayed or maintained that job consistently, build systems. Replicate yourself. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you build over time and then you iterate them depending on the size of your business. I think in our business, we then measure them out every 6 months so that we're consistently improving them and we are adding to those systems. Systems are the things that govern your business. I think in a simple term, it's how you do what you do so that you move your mindset away from, I'm the only one who can do what I do. Yeah. And I think that then becomes the key risk and factor. So when I'm coming to this gentleman and I want to raise more money, now he doesn't just want to see the fact that I've got a team. He wants to see that in my absence and I fell sick and I got hit by a car, God forbid, or something happens. He wants to see that his capital or whatever he's funded us with is safe, will still remain safe even in my absence. So in most cases when I talk to entrepreneurs and they say, no man, do you know who can give me money? Man, I'm in a very painful position. I really need to fix this thing. No, but you're thinking about it from a pain. Investors don't invest because you've got a pain. Yeah. They invest because they are a stakeholder coming into the business and they need to understand what is in it for them. What is their ROI?
So Bulelani, you have dealt with thousands, as well as Thabang, thousands of founders within this business environment. And because this is a pragmatic session, I would really love from both your professional points of view to tell us, these are the 3 key tenets that I have found consistent across the entrepreneurs that I've worked with that has helped them systemize their businesses. A plug and play a rundown of 3 core pillars.
First, I'll do justice by answering the question that you initially asked around bootstrapping.
Sure.
I think my singular view, guys, and obviously this is dependent on the size of your business, what you're trying to get. It's not a one blanket fits all approach. But if you're a micro enterprise or small business or any other type of business, my first advice would be, have we exhausted the client book that we have? Of potential leads or potential prospective clients. Let's call them prospective. They're not customers, it's prospective customers, right? Because one of the best ways to raise risk-free capital is through customers, sell stuff. The second thing is to say, what customers have we already serviced, and are we potentially able to either upsell or utilize them as springing board funnel for them to open up further markets with individuals out there in the market? Because why? It then decreases your sales ratio. Every sales journey has a ratio. The ratio to start, and when you measure it out, now you start to understand that if I want to make R1 million a month, I don't just need to speak to 100,000 prospects. To decrease that ratio, maybe I need to go to the funnel of individuals that we're currently selling to so that they help us to grow. But guys, I think the simplest form, really, not to complicate it, the simplest form for me in building and developing your systems is two things. Where you can start, there's a lot more, right? But I think the first one is, as a founder, don't externalize. First thing that you do is that map out what you did. I mean, today is Friday. If you can still remember what you did from Monday all the way to Sunday, do it for a week or two. Write down every single thing within your productive hours. At the end of that 7-day or 14-day cycle, depending on how hectic or busy your schedule is, sit down and have a meeting with yourself and categorize the things that you're doing into 3 aspects: technical, managerial, as well as entrepreneurial mode. Entrepreneurial mode is where you dream, where you vision, where you enterprise, what actually keeps you up at night and what gets you excited. This is the why. The management mode is when you're presiding over your business or managing the flows within your business or your teams or your third parties or your suppliers. And then the technical mode is all the technical capabilities that goes into you rendering that service. The technical mode, we could then also categorize it as all the work that you could delegate that you don't necessarily be the one who needs to then render that particular work. Once you've then done that, go to the technical part. That's where you start to free up your time and capacity. Go to the technical aspect of your processes, and then how you process them is that you list them. Literally, step 1, open the book. Step 2, go to page 9. Step 3, read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 8, do 1. All you're doing is that you are documenting from start to finish all the things that go into creating or rendering whatever it is. If it's creating a quote, you do that so that you move yourself away from being strangulated within your business. And then you then take it a notch a bit higher to then say, if we're working on projects or any other unique programs, then you start to develop SOPs, standard operating procedures, how we do certain things. So the process is the steps that you'd undertake in rendering a particular service. The SOPs is, if we had to live stream right now, how does that happen? You then need to then document it. So to a founder, it feels like a painful thing to do, but it frees up your capacity, because now what you are then able to do, you free up the capacity to then go and do the first thing, which is the entrepreneurial mode.
What is the distinct difference between an incubation process and mentorship, and what is really important when you are at the point where now you have received the funding and it's go time?
When I think of the conversation around building multiple businesses, I think what I picked up in those early conversations years ago is that some of the guys were misunderstood to a degree what it meant. Because I think if you do 10% of everything in 10 different businesses, it throws you off. Also, guys, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're also wrong, but you need to have systems in place. Because if it still needs you to run, then you might need to readjust your focus at the end of the day. But I think for me, it's always been to say, and this is where I meet entrepreneurs, and the individual will say, but I need 5 million, but I've never done anything. I need 5 million for that desired end. Then I ask the question, do you understand the ecosystem and the value chain of the industry or the sector that you want to work in? I don't really understand. But do you understand that if you build the intellectual equity and playing within that particular industry by understanding the value chain, if I'm opening a fuel station, I might not necessarily be able to raise the 8-9 million, but if I'm able to resell the paraffin and then move to reselling some of the other commodities, move to then being a service provider within the space, now I'm able to share the fact that I've got credible knowledge within that particular industry and sector to a degree, it then shows an element of skin in the game. But I think to the greater part and the greater question, I think for me personally, I'm a focused person. I believe in do a thing and do it extremely well. Get a team behind it, ensure that it runs immaculately well, and business development also then ensures that you support it so that it actually grows. Because the key thing is not that it runs, because running plateaus. So when circumstances around you hit you, I'm busy doing something else on the side without fully managing what I have going on. So when you then think about the multiple revenue stream, I'd always say to individuals, this is my advice, it doesn't have to be right or I don't know, but I always say to individual, build multiple revenue streams within the ecosystem that you are in. So if I'm selling guitars, number one, we are refurbishing them, we are reselling the old ones, I bring in guys to maintain that, I don't need to hire them full-time, they can come in on an ad hoc base. On the other side, I build a division that does B2C. On the other side, I'm building B2B, I'm hiring out to churches, hiring out to guys who do conferencing like this one, hiring out to an old mutual. So you're diverse, but here's the thing, you are still within the same stream.
Sure.
So the individual who's reselling can also then form part of the funnel of an old mutual who's saying, yes, we do want the Sennheiser brand, but since it's an international brand that they can only manufacture in 60 days, we'll take the resold product that you have. You are still within the stream. So when I'm coming to raise capital with Thabang, guess what? Now Thabang is more excited because I've stayed within, but I'm showing you the capacity that we've built within the services that have kept us within that particular sector or even industry.
Thank you so very much, everyone. And I do want to leave a parting word to us all. The decisions that we make after this here moment has generational impact in how business making, entrepreneurship is perceived by generations to come.